Far from the palace walls, in the Jewish community living in exile, there lived a young girl named Esther. Her Hebrew name was Hadassah. She had known sorrow early. Both her father and mother had died, leaving her alone in a foreign land. But she was not abandoned. Her cousin Mordecai took her in as his own daughter. He became her protector, her guide, and her family. Under his care, Esther grew, not only in beauty, but in quiet strength. She learned humility, obedience, and wisdom. She carried within her both gentleness and resilience, shaped by loss, yet softened by love. Esther did not grow up with privilege. She knew what it meant to depend on others, to wait, and to trust. These early years, though hidden from the world, were preparing her for something far greater than she could imagine. Meanwhile, in the royal palace, King Ahasuerus held a grand feast to display his wealth and glory. For days, nobles and officials gathered, drinking and celebrating. In the height of pride and indulgence, the king commanded that Queen Vashti be brought before the guests to display her beauty. But Vashti refused. Her refusal shook the palace. It was not just disobedience, it was seen as a threat to order across the entire kingdom. The king, angered and advised by his counselors, removed her from her position as queen. A decree went out. Vashti would never again come before the king, and her royal position would be given to another. Thus, a vacancy was created, not just for a queen, but for a woman whose life would change history. A search began across the kingdom. Young virgins, beautiful and suitable, were to be gathered into the king's palace in Susa. There they would undergo a period of preparation before being presented to the king. Among those taken was Esther. She did not volunteer. She was chosen and brought into a system far beyond her control. From the quiet home of Mordecai, she entered the structured, luxurious, and intimidating environment of the royal harem. Yet even there, Esther remained who she was. She listened. She learned. She followed Mordecai's instruction to keep her identity as a Jew hidden. She carried her past silently, not allowing her orphan beginnings to define her outwardly, but letting them shape her inwardly. Now begins the most detailed and transformative season of Esther's life. Every woman taken into the palace was required to undergo 12 months of beauty preparation before meeting the king. This was not merely about appearance. It was a disciplined process of refinement, patience, and transformation. 6 months with oil of myrrh. The first stage focused on purification. Myrrh, a fragrant resin, was used as oil for deep cleansing and healing. It softened the skin, removed impurities, and restored health. For Esther, this was more than physical. It mirrored her life. Just as myrrh cleansed the body, her past had already shaped her spirit. Loss had stripped away pride. Dependence had built humility. Under Mordecai's care, her character had already been refined long before the palace treatments began. Now, externally, her body was being prepared just as her heart had been internally. 6 months with perfumes and cosmetics. The second stage emphasized enhancement. Perfumes, spices, and fine oils were applied to bring out each woman's natural beauty. This was not about becoming someone else. It was about revealing what was already there. Esther stood out during this time, not because she demanded attention, but because she carried herself with grace. She listened to the advice of Haggai, the king's eunuch in charge of the women, and gained his favor. She did not strive or compete aggressively like others might have. Instead, she showed wisdom in restraint. Her beauty was not loud. It was steady, dignified, and compelling. Those around her noticed. Favor began to follow her, not forced, but given. The moment of presentation. After the year of preparation, each woman would go to the king, one by one, in the evening. She could take with her anything she desired from the palace to enhance her appearance. But Esther chose differently. She took only what was recommended by Haggai. This choice revealed her character, trust, wisdom, and humility. She did not rely on excess or outward display. she relied on discernment. When Esther was brought before King Ahasuerus, something shifted. She found favor in his eyes above all the other women. Not just attraction, but acceptance, delight, and choice. The king loved Esther more than all the others. And so the orphan girl, once hidden, once dependent, once unknown, was crowned Queen of Persia. From orphan to queen. Esther's journey was not sudden. It was shaped in stages. Loss that built humility, guidance that built character, obedience that built wisdom, preparation that revealed her beauty. By the time she stood before the king, she was not just physically prepared, she was ready in every way.